Welcome back to day 3 of the Gladiator restoration, and I have taken the battery tray off. That unfortunately these are also hot glued too, and I cut the zip tie that was holding all this together, and then notice this wire here, which is basically right here, that is an open live wire. It's just, I mean, anything. And ironically, it's right at the level where those could get together. If that had, this would have been on fire. The deeper I dig into this, the more things I'm just like, oh my gosh. This thing is probably should have been on fire. It may have at some point, as far as I know. I mean, that looks like it has been, but maybe not. Anyway, I'm going to try to pry these off and break that hot glue, and I'll ask a question here in a moment. Today there's a test. Which is the best way to attach an ESC? A, hot glue, B, double-sided tape, or C, deck screws? If you answered A, you're wrong. The correct answer is C, deck screws. They'll hold it really tight. However, I'm out of deck screws, so I'm going to use double-sided ESC tape. I don't know, seems like a crazy idea, but it might work. Alright, you can see that I've removed the ESC and hot glue from the battery tray. It's also been temporarily removed from its spot here. And the ESC is now mounted behind the receiver box, and the on-off button is here. I still have access to my port for programming, and these are laid down with that ESC tape I showed you. This is the one downside to the nice rubber-backed Apex battery straps, is they come extremely long, and you do have to shorten them, which means that you got to cut this off, and then I'll do a little bit of I'll fold this over with that loop and then sew it at an appropriate length, because right now it's just, I bet that's probably 18-20 inches long. It's just too long for usage on this particular application, so I'm going to go ahead and shorten it. I've gone ahead and secured a battery in there. I cut that off the end, and this is how much strap I have to remove. So I'm going to cut it right about here and then put stitches right through there to complete the loop again, and that'll be ready. I've shortened the strap so that it now fits perfectly on there, and even without the retainers on the sides, with these Apex straps being rubberized, that battery will not move back and forth. So I'm probably going to remove the back one, and by removing the back bracket here, I'll be able to put a full-size battery on the side of the vehicle over here as well. I could put one here on the back, and with that rear portion removed, a full-size battery could also fit over here. It'd make it a little bit left side heavy, but I'm not too concerned about that. Also, I'll zoom this down here, and you can see how much extra this had to take off of that battery strap. What we're looking at here is the battery tray reinstalled, the side battery tray with Apex strap. That battery does not move. You'll also notice that it does not fill up the entire battery tray on either end, and that's fine. You don't need it to. With that tray though, you can't fit a full-size battery because this is in the way. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off of the end, and that will allow me to use the entire side of this thing for the rest of the battery. I did this on my previous truck too. The tray end of that is now removed, and that's a good thing, because now if I choose to put a full-size battery here, I can use any battery I want now. I did leave the front bracket like this. I just removed the back one. If I really wanted to, I could put this one back here and just drill it up through the bottom of the truck. And you can, but it's not necessary. When you've got an Apex strap that's rubberized, this you could pick the thing up and that battery is not going to slide. So from this point on, you can tell that I've already put the XT60 plug on it. So this is a lot safer truck than it was. I've got the open wires here that were open, sealed up, and I've got them zip tied. So everything is secure now, and from this point on, everything I do to it is an upgrade. So we're getting there. Next thing I'm going to do is, I had some stuff from a previous build, stuff I didn't use. This is a brass diff cover. I'm going to throw that on the front axle real quick. And then I have decided on these Proline trenchers. So I'm going to pull the Nitto tires off because they're extremely hard, and I don't think they're probably very grippy. Where these supposedly are similar to the Hyrax. I've never tried these out in the wild, so it'll be kind of fun to try them. Anyway, that's the next project in this video. I've gone ahead and dug into the tires tonight. I have installed the brass diff cover on the front axle, but in the process of tearing these wheels apart, they say method on them. I don't know who makes that, but it's a replica of a method wheel. And one of the things I don't like about these is they have a plastic center ring for the bead lock, and clearly this used to have weight on it. Before this guy sold it to my friend, he stripped the weight off. And I would like to reiterate that my friend is not the one that did all this to the truck that I've been fixing over the past 2 or 3 days. He did nothing to it. He bought the truck and it basically sat, and he just didn't have time for it, so he got rid of it and sold it to me. So I have these laying around there from my Capra build. When I bought the Capra, it came with a lot of extra parts. So as it was part of the Capra deal, which was a stellar deal, I'm considering these free parts. And so far I've got about $142 into this truck so far. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these wheels cleaned up. They're pretty dirty, actually, can't tell in the video. And I'll get these stripped here, and what I'm going to do is add a bunch of weight to it. And these are going to go on the front. This is also stuff I've had, so yeah, I mean, you could consider it another $5 for parts as far as the weight goes. But actually, I got 2 bags of this with the Capra deal, so I'm not even gonna count these. They were free with the deal, so they're not adding to the total, because we're still using parts I got from a different deal that I had on hand. Also, when you buy used, expect to not have all the screws, but I have extra screws. It's not a problem. I don't want my buddy to feel bad, because he gave me such a bargain on this thing that even if it didn't have wheels, it's still an incredible bargain. So nothing bad on him. He's an awesome guy. This was a stellar deal. I'm super happy to have it. But I'll get these all cleaned up here. It'll take a while to get all the adhesive off and get them relined up with some weight, because they're just too light. I'm not going to put any weight on the back axle, because if I did, it would be like when it has to do a pull up from the front axle, pull itself over a hill. I don't want it wearing ankle weights. I want it to be able to just drag itself right up a hill. So that's why I don't add weight to the tail of my vehicles. I got these decently cleaned up. It's not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. And the reason is I just added all that weight to it. Each one of those are 5 grams. and I believe there's 19 or 20. There's 19 of them, so I've added 95 grams to a thing that probably weighs maybe 10. So that'll make a big difference in the forward bias of the truck. That's quite a bit heavier. So again, this is a budget build. It's not gonna have all the fancy stuff that my other trucks have, but I'll bet it doesn't perform a whole lot different by the time this is over, except for the fact it's longer, and it does not have as good of a breakover angle because the frame will hit going over peaks just because the wheelbase is longer. So I might have to have it ride higher, but if it does, that's fine because it is longer, and that will help the overall center of gravity, so it won't want to fall over. So moving forward here, this is the two-stage foam that I'm putting into these trenchers. I've already got the black foam inside there. Next I'm going to put the white foam in, and then button this first wheel up. These do fit in. It's a little tight, but no problem. They'll go in nice, and they shouldn't slide around much once this thing's all put together. As y'all know, I like stiffer foams than a lot of people do, but they don't collapse and roll my truck over. They're also more stable on steep climbs for the same reason. They don't collapse. I stayed up a little later and got the trenchers put on. The front two tires each have that extra 95 grams of weight on the center ring because you need a little bit of forward weight bias. The 10.3 is pretty good for weight bias already because it has the forward mounted engine. Also, this is a little bit longer wheelbase on my Traxxas and Red Cat, so it's a longer wheelbase truck. I've got the new plug on. That's good. Everything is insulated. Like I said, no fire risk anymore from wires touching each other. This is tied up. I like to keep my wires nice and tidy up out of the axles or the drive shafts. If these things wrap around vegetation, tall grass, things like that, it'll create a big ball on top of this, and that'll catch wires and drag them in and rip them out of your truck. I had a Savox servo, Savox, however you say it, get ruined that way. It created I forget what people call it. There's a slang name for it. They call it when it develops a ball of vegetation around the drive shaft. But anyway, all that's up and out of the way. It's cleaned up, and this is turning into a really nice truck. I think I've got a couple of things left to do to it. Tomorrow I'm going to put a 7-channel receiver in here so that I can run my dig servo, and also it's going to eventually get a winch, and then rock lights will go back on, and then I'll figure out if the headlights work, and if not, I'll just buy cheap eBay $8 light kits and throw 2 of them in there, one for the rock lights and one for the headlight taillight system. I don't really like running the I'll fix this later on too. That's kind of ugly, but I'll fix that. I don't like the light bars here because that light bar drains the battery very quickly. But as far as the work goes, it's come along really nice, and should be a great truck. I think this first time out of the box is going to do really well. This will be the first time I've tried trenchers outside. Hopefully they're as good as the Hyrax. I think they're the same compound. They're both Proline, so I can't see how they'd be any worse. Maybe they are. I don't know. Smaller tread blocks, they might give way easier on rocks. I don't know. They still have a little more squish than I wanted, but I suppose gotta have some, right? I like super hard foams, and these are not. They're still pretty mushy. So they are 2-stage, but they're not great 2-stage. They're free 2-stage. So that's all tonight. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.